Today's class is a golfer's flow, so feel free to add this into your rotation anytime. We're going to start on our backs in something called bridge pose. So as you lie down with the feet on the mat, knees bent, we're going to feel for 3 touch points. So the first one is the back of our skull, the second one is our shoulder blades, and the third one is our sacrum, which is the lowest part of the spine right above the tailbone. So that's our triple S. We want to feel those 3 things down right now. Push into your feet, lift the hips, staying nice and low into a bridge pose. Keep the chin slightly towards your throat so the back of your neck is long. And we really want to be using the glutes and the hamstrings to lift up. So if you're feeling a little bit achy or tight in the low back, check that you're not arching the back, but instead your tailbone is reaching towards your heels. We'll push into the big toes, let the knees move away, and then back up toward the ceiling. So we're just doing this little flap in the leg. Knees move out and in. The movement is coming from the outer hip, but it's really small, so make sure that your big toes aren't lifting up. We're pushing through the whole foot, not rolling onto the pinky toe side. So this is abduction of the hip, moving out and then back in. A couple more times. That little flap out and in, working the glutes and outer hips. Pause in that regular bridge pose. Knees are just facing centered. Reach your left hand up like you're holding a tray, and we'll take the right fingers, pull back into a wrist stretch. So we're coming into some wrist extension on that left hand. Make sure your glutes are still working to hold yourself in bridge. Switch hands, right palm up, pull back with the left fingers, getting into that right wrist extension. So it's always a good thing to get the wrists moving a little bit before we golf. Since we have that grip, we want to get the wrists moving in both flexion and extension. You can release the stretch and then slowly lower your way down. Once you feel those 3 touch points again, that triple S, the back of your skull, shoulder blades, and sacrum, we'll interlace the hands behind the head. Let the elbows come in toward the forehead like you're trying to touch elbows. Take a big breath in. On an exhale, think about your belly button pulling or sinking down toward the ground as you take a tiny lift off your shoulder blades. So this is different than a sit-up or a crunch. That comes from flexing the spine, kind of rounding the back to get up. We're going to keep our long spine and just lift high enough that we're off the shoulder blades. Inhale to lower, so not rounding the back. Exhale, pull the belly button down toward the ground, lift off the shoulder blades. Bring your chin slightly towards your throat so you're gazing towards your belly button. Inhale to lower. Exhale, lift up. As you lift up, make sure there's no arch in your low back, so feel that low back fully on the ground. Gaze towards your belly button. Turn your chest 1 inch to the right. Lift off that right shoulder blade. Come back to center. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Pull the belly button down. Chin towards your throat. Now almost lean your head back into your hands, making sure you're not cranking on the neck to lift up. Keep gazing toward the belly button. Turn your chest 1 inch to the left, teeny tiny. Stay off that left shoulder blade. Come back to center. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Pull the belly button down. Lean your head back. Look toward the belly button. Rotate 1 inch to the right. Stay off that right shoulder blade. Keep the low back on the ground. Left arm's going to reach across toward that right thigh. Stay off that right shoulder blade. Hand comes back behind the head, back to center. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Pull the belly button down. Lean your head back. Gaze toward the belly button. Turn 1 inch to the left. Make sure that left shoulder blade's not touching the ground. Right arm reaches across. Hand back behind the head as you come back to center. Inhale and lower. Release the hands. We'll transition onto our hands and knees, coming into a table pose or quadruped. Shoulders will line up right over your wrist. Bring the hips right over the knees. Let's cat-cow. Inhale, arch your back, so that's extending the spine. Exhale, push down into the hands, round your back as much as you can. This is flexing the spine. You can release the neck. Inhale, arch the back. So our belly's dropping down a little bit. Our tailbone is lifting up. Exhale, round your back like you're trying to tuck the tailbone under. Try that a couple more times, getting as much movement as you can in both directions. Come back to your quadruped. We'll get ready for downward dog, pushing into the hands, tuck the toes under. We'll keep the knees bent. Lift your hips up as high as you can without putting weight into your heels. So we really want to keep the weight in the hands. Lift your hip creases up. That's where your thigh bone meets your hip. Lift your front ribs up. So we want to get out of the habit of arching the back when we're here, sinking the chest down, but instead pushing into the hands, lifting those hip creases up. You can pedal out the feet, bending one knee at a time, and then trying to stretch one heel down toward the ground, getting into a calf stretch. Keep pressing into the fingers. From your downward dog, softly lower the knees back down into that same quadruped. Shoulders are over your wrists. Picture that broom behind your back, touching those 3 touch points, the back of your skull, your shoulder blades, and your sacrum. Try to hold everything as it is as you step the right ball of the foot back for plank, and then left foot steps to meet it. So let's see if we can keep our spine in that neutral position. Tighten your glutes here to help stabilize the pelvis. Slide the left knee back in, and then the right knee. Quadruped. Right foot is going to step forward through your hands. Left knee will stay down on the ground as we lift up into a 90-90 lunge. Let's check in that our ears are right over our shoulders are right over our pelvis. Now let's firm this left glute, so that back leg, so that we can actively stretch the front of this left hip. Roll one shoulder back at a time. Make this movement as big as you can in the shoulders and shoulder blades. So this is part of the scapula mobility we want for our swing. Come back onto your hands, or you're welcome to come onto fist. We'll take our right foot and step it out to the right. So it's stepping off the mat. Our toes are pointing forward. If you need to scoot that right leg further back behind you, scoot it back as far as you need to feel that same triple S, that neutral spine. Let's start to rock forward and backwards. So as we rock forward, we're going further into that wrist extension as our shoulders go over the wrist. But we're also, as you can probably tell, getting a stretch in that right inner thigh. So that's our adductors. We use those in the swing as well. So let's get them stretched and activated. Step your right foot back into that quadruped or table position. Now the left foot steps through. Right knee stays down. We're in that same 90-90 low lunge on the other side. Picture that broom touching your triple S. Roll one shoulder back at a time. Keep that right glute firm. So as we stay active in that back leg, we're going to stretch the front of the right hip more. So keep that right glute firm. Hands or fists will come right under your shoulders. Take your left foot, step it out to the left. Parallel that left foot. Again, if you need to slide it further back, go ahead, but let's try to push into the whole foot, not just the big toe. Rocking forward and back. So as we stretch this left inner thigh, we're also getting some wrist mobility. Try your best to keep that feeling of a broom behind your back, so we don't want to be arching the back or rounding the back while we're here. Bring that left knee back into quadruped. Right foot steps through again. We'll tuck the left toes under. Lift up, we're in that same 90-90 lunge, but now our left toes are tucked. Let's picture that broom behind our back. Bring your arms out into a goalpost. So our elbows are just bent like a cactus or like a goalpost shape. Tighten that left glute, just like we did in our core work. We're going to turn right from the center of the chest. 1 inch to the right, and bring it back. Rotate to the right, bring it back. So we're getting into our thoracic rotation. That's the mid and upper back rotating. Keep that left glute firm so that we're not twisting here in the lower back or the hips. We're just rotating around the rib cage. Hands or fists come under the shoulders again. We'll stay on that left knee. Right leg will extend back behind for a 3-legged quadruped. Now, picture balancing a glass of water right on your lower back, so we don't want to arch the back, we don't want to round the back. Try to reach your left arm forward, so we're balancing on the right hand and left knee. Right leg will start to reach out to the right as the left arm reaches to the left. So we're abducting the left arm and right hip, and then bring everything back to center. Right leg moves to the right, left arm moves to the left. Bring it back. It's a small movement. Keep that feeling of the glass of water on your lower back. Couple more times. Lower back to quadruped, hands and knees, left foot steps through. Tuck the right toes, 90-90 lunge. Are your ears above your shoulders? Are your shoulders above your pelvis? Let's firm this right glute. Goalpost the arms. As you rotate, turn the chest maybe 1 inch to the left toward that front leg, and then back to center. Rotating to the left, back to center. Keep that right glute active. So hopefully getting a stretch in the front of that right hip as we add this thoracic rotation. Move at any pace that feels good. Hands come down, staying on that right knee, left leg extends back, 3-legged quadruped. Picture that broom behind you, right arm will reach forward. Pausing here, checking that core stability. Adding a little extra challenge. Left leg moves slightly, maybe an inch or two to the left, right arm moves to the right. Bring it back. Left leg to the left, right arm to the right. Bring it back. So we're working that left hip abduction, right shoulder abduction. Holding the spine still, so really relying on the core to keep everything stable. Lower to quadruped. Heading back to downward dog, keep the weight in your hands, tuck the toes, lift the hips up, keep the knees bent. Think about lifting your hip creases up as high as you can. Feel free to pedal the feet out or just hold for another couple breaths in your downward dog, pressing into the fingers. Big bend in your knees. You can take the feet even wider. Hands are going to walk back toward the feet until the heels can lower down into this triple flexion. So we're flexing at the hips, the knees, and the ankles. Try to keep your neutral or long spine as you rise up. Standing at the back of the mat, we'll balance on the left leg. Pick up your right foot. Doesn't matter how high that right leg gets off the ground. Let's firm our left glute since we're balancing on that left leg. Both arms will reach out. Take your right arm as much as you can. Reach it up and then open it out. So we're doing a circle as we turn the chest to the right. Step that right foot down. Pick up the left foot. So now we're balancing on the right leg. Left arm circles up, rotating through the chest. Step it down, pick up the right foot, push down into that left foot. Circle the arm, getting that thoracic upper back rotation. One more time, step it forward, pick up the left foot. Circle that left arm, turn just the chest, and then step it forward. Step the ball of your left foot back, heading into a high lunge now. Let that left knee bend in order to keep the tailbone reaching down. Legs are active, goalpost the arms like we did before, so elbows are bent. Instead of rotating this time, we're going to keep our torso facing forward and try to pulse the arms back. So this might be a tiny movement. It's coming from our shoulder blades, so our scapula. We're kind of squeezing our shoulder blades in as we extend the arms back. Make sure that you're doing this without your ribs moving. So a lot of times you'll pop the chest forward, thinking that you're moving at the back, but we really just want to feel those shoulder blades move, nothing in the front of the body. Turn to your left. We'll face the side of the mat and parallel the feet. Hands will come behind the head. Side lunge to the left. Left hip crease moves back. Push into the heels and all 10 toes. Turn the chest 1 or 2 inches to the left. Unwind. Side lunge to the right. Hips move back, chest comes forward. Rotate 1 or 2 inches to the right. Unwind. We're going to keep going. You can go faster. You can go slower. But we're getting into the adductors again, the inner thighs, as we mobilize the hips and add that thoracic rotation. So we're just rotating around the mid and upper back. You can picture that same glass of water on your lower back here. Step it back to the front of the mat. Switching sides, right foot will step back. Coming into that high lunge, let that right knee bend so that the tailbone can reach down. Goal post your arms. See if you can imagine that broom taped behind your back. Pulse the arms. Notice if your ribs are trying to do the movement or we're trying to arch the spine to get the movement. So keep that triple S as we pulse the arms back. Think about moving from your shoulder blades. Release the hands, turn to your right. So again, we're facing the side of the mat. Our feet are parallel. Hands come behind the head. Spine stays long. We'll side lunge to the right. Keep your long spine, turn the chest to the right. Unwind, side lunge to the left. Rotate your chest to the left. Move at any pace that feels good, but we really want to try to keep our spine long. So notice if the head is dropping down, if you're rounding the upper back, if you're maybe arching the lower back. Come back to the front of your mat. Let's practice a little balance. We're going to stay standing on our right leg. Pick up your left foot. Now we want to push down into the right foot and firm the right glute. Anytime we're doing a single leg balance, we really want to use the glutes to support the hip. Now without using your hands to adjust, we're going to bring that left leg open and land it for tree. Now you can have the toes on the ground. You can have the foot somewhere on the shin, the knee, above the knee, but we're not going to grab it and pull it. Wherever it lands, keeping that tailbone reaching down. Now a single leg balance might be challenging in itself, so you are welcome to stay here. You can always have the hands somewhere on the body to help you out. So if you notice that you tend to tip forward, hands can be somewhere around the pelvis. You can have that triple S reminder. But if you feel pretty stable, we'll add a little forearm massage. So let's take our right arm, left hand's gonna come around it, kind of like a toothpaste squeeze, like you're trying to squeeze toothpaste up from the bottom up. And just notice how many tender areas you might have near the elbow, or maybe down the forearm toward the wrist, maybe in the wrist itself. So we're just doing a little bit of that self tissue or fascia mobilization. See if you can keep that balance while you do it. Of course, if you need to put your foot down, put your foot down. And we'll switch. So let's release that left foot. Now we'll stand on the left leg, pick up the right foot. We want that left glute nice and firm. Picture that broom behind you. Now without using your hands, come to your tree. Let that right foot land wherever it lands. Tailbone reaches down. Again, hands can stay somewhere on your body, wherever you need a little bit of extra attention or awareness, or take the right hand to the left forearm. You can start at the bottom, squeeze up. You can start at the wrist, wherever this side, so this is our left side. If that's not your dominant side, notice how this side might feel a little bit different. Maybe it's tender in different areas or not very tender. Depends on what is your dominant hand. Good, let's step it down. We're gonna come onto our backs for one stretch, so you can get there however you want. And just like in the beginning of class, we're gonna start with the feet on the mat, knees bent, checking that triple S. So notice if you can feel the back of your skull on the ground, your shoulder blades, and your sacrum, which again is right above your tailbone. It's the lowest part of the spine. Now we'll pick up our right foot, externally rotate the hip, and cross it over into a figure 4 stretch. So now we're getting into some hip external rotation length or stretch. Arms can reach straight out to your sides if that feels comfortable. That's a nice way to open the tissues at the front of the chest and front of the shoulders. You could also try to goalpost your arms here. If you're taking this goalpost option, make sure that your ribs didn't pop up or your shoulder blades didn't lift off the ground. So if that's not accessible, go back to the arms out or just have your hands at your sides. If you're looking for a bigger stretch for that outer right hip, we'll pick up the left foot without grabbing with the hands. Now your option is to just stay here and breathe, checking in with that triple S, or now take your left leg and internally and externally rotate the hip. So it's just gonna look like your left shin. It's kind of windshield wipering side to side or swiveling. So the movement's coming from that left hip. I like to do this here. It's just a nice way to get a little extra hip mobility while we're already stretching one hip. Release that left foot down if it's up, and then the right foot as well. Rechecking in with that triple S. Pick up your left foot. Externally rotate the hip, cross it over for your figure 4. Make sure that we haven't arched the low back, so keep that low back fully on the ground. Arms can be out with the palms up. You can try to goalpost, either option. Now maybe we're picking up the right foot this time. Try not to grab and pull it toward you. Now stay or add that movement with the right hip. So our right shin is gonna swivel to the left and then over toward the right. That's internal and external rotation of the right hip while we stretch the left hip. Release your right foot down if it's up, and then the left foot will either stay here in this position or you can extend both legs out long if that feels comfortable for your hips, your lower back, and your knees. And we'll just pause, letting the eyes close. Notice if you're holding tension in your forehead and see if you can relax it. If you're clenching your jaw, relax that too. And just take a few easy breaths. You can stay here as long as you'd like. You can finish up right now. Thank you for practicing with me. I hope you have a great day.